All right. All right. Hey, hello. This is Scott Wells with Shazam Podcast.
The
And
Magic Word Podcast. Wait.
And my guest, who have I got with me?
Oh, wait. Should we take it again? Sorry, I got excited.
Okay, take two. Hi, welcome to Hef's Place. This is our Magic and Martini half hour, so we'll get to spend a little bit of time with you. And this is Scott Wells with Shazam Podcast. And my guest tonight is Miss Kayla Drescher.
Hi, I'm Kayla Drescher with the Magic Word Podcast, which I host alone.
Wait a minute.
I don't know if that's right.
So I'm working with Carissa. Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to toss it back to you. I love Carissa, but let's change the name of our podcast. I'm going to go with the magic word. Why don't you stick with Shazam since it's got a she in? That's good.
Yeah, that feels logical.
It seemed, otherwise it'd be Hezam, and I should have Hezam, and maybe I should have somebody else, chat with me also like you do with Carissa.
Listen, like 3 martinis down, anything makes sense. So
you got that right, girl. So tonight we are just talking a little bit about magic. We're talking about some martinis. We're talking about some food. Hope you enjoy us. Enjoy this. That I've got some snacks over here then too. If you like a little, let's see, what do we got? I got some Emmentaler. I got some cave-aged Gruyere, or cave-aged Emmentaler. I got some Gruyere. I got some Irish cheddar, a little bourbon cheddar. Then also, let's just try a little bit of this. I think you would like this. So
is it cheese?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is cheese. Yes, cheese and crackers that we're having then over here.
Nice.
Has some snacks with that. Always good with a martini, and 3 olives. And my olives, by the way, I like to use blue cheese stuff. I know you like blue cheese stuffed olive soup.
Well, I'm vegan, so no.
So wait a minute. Cheese is non-vegan? What is that? Is it made from animals or?
Yeah, well, it's made from dairy.
Yeah.
Which is from animals, so I don't eat it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. So what are in your olives? Garlic, almonds, pimentos, what?
Pimentos.
Pimentos.
Yeah. Those are my favorite. But I used to love blue cheese.
Yeah.
Before I was vegan, like the hardest thing for me giving up was the cheese. Because they make this amazing vegan butter, that would have been hardest for me. Wow. But cheese was hard because I used to eat brie. I loved cheese on salads. And then just slowly over time, I got not excited about cheese. And so now it's easy. I don't need to eat it anymore. We also have this amazing vegan cheese called Miyoko's, and we've made grilled cheese for basically every day for the last 4 days.
Is that
for
like
breakfast,
tofu or something?
No problem.
Is that like tofu?
It's actually made out of beans. It sounds gross, but it's it tastes just like cheddar, genuinely. The texture is a little bit different, but the taste is cheddar.
Uh-huh.
And vodka's vegan, so.
What kind of vodka do you like?
Well, it depends. Yeah. So Tito's is my favorite to like buy on the regular, but if I want to splurge a little bit, I'll get Belvedere because Belvedere is my go-to. What do you have?
I'm glad you asked. 3 olives is what I use. This is a flavored vodka. If I'm going to be having just a regular vodka, I'm with you. I'll have the Belvedere or Grey Goose as my go-to when I'm just having straight vodka. But if I'm going to be having a flavored vodka, I like to go with the 3 olives. In this particular case, is cherry. My wife, Kathy, and I used to like cherry vodka. It's actually already in there. And I recommend that over any other kind of flavored vodkas. And I say 3 olives over other flavored vodkas because, I mean, they've got, of course, grape and, I don't know, peppermint probably and blueberry. I don't know what all the different kinds of weird flavors. cherry I think is the best. But the point is, it doesn't taste syrupy. I've had others where we've tried. I've tried. Think just a variety of other kinds of Absolute, and everybody else seems like has that as well, and it just tastes like syrup. I don't care for it at all. This has just the right amount. It tastes very good. I don't recommend putting it in the freezer. A lot of times, of course, you can put your vodka straight in the freezer and then pour it out into a chilled glass. And in my case, but I like a little bit of vermouth. I've got a little atomizer, so I spritz a little 2 or 3 little spritzes of vermouth on top of that. So whenever, instead of, sometimes you can put some in the glass and you can kind of swirl it around so you got that wash, but I just kind of 1, 2 like that, just kind of spritz it. And so that way you have just a little glaze over the top of that, because after you've shaken it up about 62 times, this way that you then have a nice thin layer of ice across the top of it, which just makes it perfect.
Wow. That is, first of all, that is next level martini expertise. Like, you have a spritzer of vermouth, which I didn't even know existed. But also on the level of the like syrupy flavored vodkas. So when I was bartending, I would make Cosmos. I don't love drinking them, but if somebody would go, I don't know what I want, I'd go, let me make you a Cosmo, and if you hate it, I'll make you whatever else you want, and it's on the house. But trust me on my Cosmo. And the reason that I just loved making them is that I would use vanilla vodka, Absolute, because it just made it a little bit thicker. So
yes,
you get that vanilla flavor,
yep,
right, with the cranberry. And then what I actually did was muddle the crap out of a couple slices of lime, shake it really intensely. And when you pour it out, kind of like what you're talking about with the spray of the vermouth, there's a thin layer of lime pulp on the top, and it looks stunning. And I've never had anybody not like it. And I learned that kind of from another bartender, and it was just my favorite thing in the world to make.
Do you grind the lime or something so that way you have the pulp and the juice and everything, kind of a thing, or do you squeeze it?
Yeah, you like. So I would muddle it. So I would put it in the shaker and then smash it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But also I really liked making dessert martinis, which I also really like drinking, like an espresso martini, a chocolate martini. Or if somebody came in and was like, I don't know what to drink, but I really want something sweet, then I would like to ask questions like, what's your favorite dessert? Would you prefer like a chocolate or cheesecake or fruit? And then I would just take whatever their answers were and put it into a martini. And those were so much fun to make because you just end up having dessert in a glass. And then you go up to your room or go home very happy.
So when you're doing that, you're not grabbing, like in this case, 3 Olives chocolate vodka. You're actually putting some chocolate and everything into a regular, you use vodka as a base. And then, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so usually vanilla vodka was the base of most dessert martinis for me. Yeah. Just because vanilla really lifts the flavor of anything. I'm using terminology that I learned from the British Baking Show. It lifts the flavor. So
is that on BBC or what, America, or where do you, on the Food Network, or what do you watch?
Well, now it's on Netflix in the US, but okay, I mean, I don't want to go into the drama that was switching channels in the UK, but it used to be, I think, on BBC4, and now it's on something else, and they had to switch hosts, and it's not as good, but it's still great. Anyway, so yes, the flavor of vanilla, if it's just a hint of vanilla, it really does add, you don't taste it per se, but it does add just a lovely heightening of everything.
Yeah.
And then I used actual chocolate. So chocolate
syrup, chocolate, like a grater or something?
Chocolate I could find that was going in it. Yep. Yeah, I would shave the chocolate either with a cheese grater or with a knife, create chocolate curls, all of that. So just whatever I could find that was chocolate.
By grating that, do you grate that then into the shaker, or do you actually grate and then shake it, or do you grate it just on top after the glass?
I'd grate it. I would grate it on top so that there's a layer of it. It's more of a garnish, but then I would put chocolate syrup in the shaker, or I would put a layer of chocolate, like a swirl of chocolate syrup around the martini glass, which always just looks really stunning, especially if you have a cream, like a more cream-based martini, then you can put the chocolate syrup around the glass. So you have a dark chocolate syrup and then a white liquid with a little chocolate shavings on top. Oh my gosh,
Wow. That does sound pretty good. I mean, I know that there are, literally hundreds of different kinds of martini recipes. There's a martini bar actually not far from my house called the Davenport. And I remember the first time I went there, I was so impressed by they had a menu of martinis of, I don't know how many dozens of martinis per page. It blew my mind to think about, okay, I'm going to be here the rest of my life actually trying all these things. So
yeah, absolutely.
You prefer vodka then over gin?
For martinis, yes. I don't enjoy straight gin. I like gin drinks, but not straight gin.
You mean like a gin and tonic or something?
Yeah, or like a gin and juice, or a gin, anything in like a short bowl glass. So it's not a martini, but it's the short bowl. Those kinds of drinks are good because it's gin, but with fruit to cut the sting of gin, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if I'm like at a bar, gin and cranberry is one of my favorite things.
I used to drink gin and tonics, and I also had gin as a martini, and would have a Vesper. That was what it uses gin also.
Oh yeah, James Bond.
Exactly, which was good. But I always had just a headache, or I just didn't feel good the next day. Vodka, I can drink most of the night, it seems like, and feel fine then the next day. I don't know why that is. Maybe the way it's filtered or distilled or something. But gin based upon juniper, as opposed to vodka, which is distilled using just about anything, whether it's potatoes or grain or whatever. I mean, I use pickles, I guess, or whatever. As a base. But gin is pretty specific, and that just kind of gives me a headache. I don't feel so great the next day.
Yeah, I have a really, what I find is a very funny vodka drinking story. So only in the last year or so have I gotten back into actually drinking vodka, and there's a specific reason why. So when I was 22 years old, I just graduated college and went, I'm going to get a job as a bartender and then also do bar magic. This is a logical transition into whatever a magic career looks like for me, but this is something that I would like to do. But I had not had a drop of alcohol before my 21st birthday. So I didn't know any information.
No beer.
I know. My dad was a cop. Nothing. But there was no, my parents didn't drink. My dad was a police officer, so it was really intensely instilled in me to obey the law or you'll end up in jail. When I was 6, my dad put me in a prison cell and then said, this is what happens if you break the law, and then left. Wow. So he came back 5 minutes later. But for me, that was years. So it was really terrifying. And so I never wanted to break the law. Yeah. It was no joke. And so I didn't drink until I was 21. Turning 21 was a grand party. And then we moved on. And so I said, I want to be a bartender, but I don't know a lot about alcohol. So a friend of mine who had significantly more experience in drinking than I did said, I'm going to come over. We'll grab a couple friends and we're going to do a taste testing. And we'll basically pick a different type of alcohol per session. So session 1 was vodka because it was, from his perspective, the easiest one to explain. Great. So he brings over a bunch of vodkas. And I blind taste test all the vodkas, first straight and then with cranberry juice. And so unbeknownst to me, and this will be something that if you know anything about drinking, you know why this was terrible. So each taste test I took was a half a shot. And my friend brought 6 types of vodka. So by the end of the first taste test, which was 6 vodkas straight, I had 3 shots of vodka total in the course of about 10 minutes. And then we did it again, but with cranberry juice. So I had another 6 shots of vodka in another 10 minutes. So by the time we're at the 30-minute mark, I've had 6 shots of vodka, and I don't even know what drunk is. I've never been drunk. I have no idea what I'm doing. Then I'm drinking going, I like that one with the cranberry. Great. And that one didn't. I don't like that one. That one's bad. And we were analyzing. I have my friend, one friend, his name was Patrick. He's drinking along with me. We're doing the same, bringing the alcohol, was drinking along with me. And he's chasing every shot with a beer. And I'm like, Jesus, you're drinking a lot. So then we start we just go into my kitchen and we just grab whatever we can find. So we grabbed that Mio shot, like the flavoring of water. We put vodka in Mio. Oh, that was bad. We tried vodka in Gatorade. We tried vodka in a brownie. Like, we just grabbed whatever we could in the kitchen and just experimented. And the next thing I knew, I woke up with all of my clothes on in my shower while the shower was running. And I have no memory. And my friend Patrick, the other one who was drinking along with me, was knocking on the door going, "Are you okay? You've been in there for a long time." And I was like, I don't think I'm going to survive. I don't know what to do. This is awful. So I got out of the shower and I went to bed. At some point, my friend Jason has left. And I was like, when did Jason go home? Is he okay? He didn't drive, did he? He drank just as much as we did. Patrick is asleep on the couch. I'm in my bed. I wake up and we have a plan that we're all going to go to breakfast. I wake up. Patrick, he was so drunk that he cleaned my whole apartment, like bleach cleaned my whole apartment, and then went home. Nobody heard from him for 2 days. We weren't sure he was alive. I go to breakfast with everyone, and this is going to be a little bit not appetizing. I'm sitting there going, I want potatoes and toast. And my friend Jason is totally fine. I don't understand how he's fine. I keep having to get up and go to the back dumpster to like get rid of the vodka. And then I go and sit and I look at him and go, I don't get it. How are you not dead? And I learned that day about if you take a shot and then you take a sip of beer, you can actually spit the shot back out into the beer bottle. And everybody thinks you're drinking along with them, but really you haven't had a drop to drink. So I was coerced into drinking what I don't even know would have been probably 15 shots of vodka in an evening. And so I couldn't drink vodka for most of my life, but now we're fine.
Wow, what a story.
It was awful. It was absolutely awful. My organs.
Welcome back to the club.
Stopped wanting to function.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be back.
That kind of reminds me a little bit of my experience with tequila. And tequila can kind of knock you out also and cause some lapse of memory. But that was another time and another age. So listen, bunch of stuff I want to talk about.
Were we not talking about martinis? I'm lost.
I have really loved your lectures that you've been giving. I know you're a paratrooper, which means you're dropping in from IBM meetings from time to time and giving your lectures and things. And so the lecture you'd given, I listened to the whole thing there that was on the IBM Facebook page, which was great. Really enjoyed that.
Was it the performance one or the bar one?
The bar one.
Ah, okay, great.
And of course, I enjoyed when you and I were on the thing in Oakland on their Zoom meeting here recently. Then too, a couple different things I want to talk about. One is having to do with just some food type of thing. This is something that I had done some years ago. You might be interested in this, and I think some of the other magicians might be as well. And that is that I had this thing. I don't know if you can kind of see that or not. This is a newsletter that I used to have, which was Magic That Means Business. And these were, first of all, just monthly newsletters that I would put out, for a while, every month that I would send. And then I copied these. And originally that I had copied them and sent physical copies to my clients. So this way that it kind of kept me in their mind So this way that they knew what I was doing. First of all, that the front page would be something that would be a synopsis, just a summary of some business article that they may have missed in Forbes magazine or something that would be of interest to them. Then would, carry on the second page of that then as well. And then there'd be a recipe over here. In the side, there'd be some photos and things of some shows where I have performed and whatnot. And then because that this was about me, that I had like a short article of what I was doing or where I was. I don't know, in this case that, let's see, that, oh, this is when I was performing over in Scotland. So I talked about working over in Stirling Castle. And then there would be another thing, there'd be some links, that you can go to that would be valuable. And at the time, people didn't know much about Twitter. And this was like 2010, whenever I first started. So different, things that you can get involved with that were social links and that kind of a thing. And then I had a series of jokes. And then on the back page, then would have a calendar of where that I would be performing. And then also a trick that they could actually learn. So that was what this was all about, month after month, and having different kinds of recipes and things. And then I went from, and also whenever I sent these out, I sent these, as I said, a physical copy, and I had learned from a friend, and I can't remember his name, a fella in Austin, I'm sorry, in Atlanta, and last name Anderson, I think. Anyhow, that he had suggested that you actually physically write the name of the person you're sending this to, because if they hear your name, or rather if they read your name on there, that it gets delivered to their inbox. People don't receive physical mail anymore. So if they read their name, they think this must be pretty important, and they're more apt to open that than they are regular email. I mean, most mail things you get, hard copy mail, is just spam, basically. So if you receive something like this, you're more apt to open this. And the point is that if you receive this month after month, you're receiving this magic that means business. And I had that title specifically as just saying, because it is business, and I'm trying to emphasize that's what I'm doing, is performing magic for your businesses, for your company, basically. That they would, if it was in their inbox and they hadn't read it, and then the next month another one gets stacked on top of it, it's like, I better get back to that one, So after a period of time, after they start receiving more and more of these kinds of things, then it's like, they start to read it, and I got a lot of response back, and I got a lot of shows, as a result of it. But the reason I kind of brought this up here tonight is that there were a couple of different recipes that I had, and being a vegan, you may not sort of be interested. One of them was this was a sardines. This was a, what does it say? A sardine toast, that using some sardines that and some mix that we put you have some small pieces of toast that are toasted in the oven, and then you put the sardine mix on top of that, and it's pretty tasty. Let me see. There was another one over here that I was going to recommend, which were French dip crescent rolls. Easy to make. So this way that you just have these crescent rolls, that was basically a French dip, and a French dip meaning that you're going to be having some roast, in your case, I don't know if you had roast beef, you wouldn't have roast beef, but you roll up some roast beef, in just some crescent rolls, basically, bake them, and then you're going to be dipping them in this sauce, and stuff. So that was something else. And then there was another one that was, let's see, these were, garbage bread. This was one that was perhaps my wife and I's favorite. And it was like on a Thursday night, again, like the night that instead of having cheese and crackers, we'd always have something that would be a little bit more substance. And that garbage bread would have a variety of salamis and bologna and all kinds of hard beef, meat and things rolled up and then broiled and in a dipping sauce kind of a thing that was really tasty. And then, let's see, this was, sorry, one more page. Reuben Rolls, like Reuben sandwiches. Instead of having a full Reuben sandwich, this was something, and using some corned beef that were smaller kind of rolls that that you could have that was tasty. Which reminds me, I had another thing. It was a really good pizza that was a Irish pizza that used corned beef and cabbage, on this pizza, which was rather tasty. This is another one that was spinach and bacon tartines, which again is kind of a toasted piece of toast in which that you would put these some bacon on top of that, and then you put some toast on top of that. I'm sorry, some cheese on top of that, different kinds of cheeses, some Gruyere, some Emmentaler perhaps, and then some spinach would go in that then as well. Anyhow, very tasty and crunchy. So it had a lot of crunch and everything to it. Anyhow, so the point was that each month it had some sort of a nice recipe of different kinds of things. It didn't have any vegan things in there, sorry. But it was, a lot of really good tasty things in which that I had posted these from month to month and had put them on my website then as well. Not only did I send them to my clients, but I gave them a link then later whenever I might send them an email saying you can go down and download this. Now I've since done away with this, and the reason is when you see things online that say these pictures may be subject to copyright, they're serious. And in one case, I had captured something, a cartoon that was a joke or something in a cartoon, and I got a note from their attorney. Long story short, it cost me about $375 to pay for this one cartoon that I had posted. That even though that I apologized, took it down, didn't have a link to it any longer, that I still had to pay for that. So I as opposed to going to court and having to pay a whole lot more, so I ended up paying for that. So that's they take those copyrights pretty serious.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But anyhow,
I'm so sad.
So anyhow, this was something I just think was kind of neat, and it was kind of a point in time in which that we used to keep in touch with clients by hard mail, basically. But again, following up by having this, I did this for 10 years. I did it month to month, and then went to bi-monthly. And I would just go over to my local Kinko's and have them print these up and put them in envelopes and would mail them out. And then eventually put them then on the website as well, where they could download that and share that with other friends within the office, then as well. And I found that it more than paid for itself. I mean, I made more than that money back that I had to end up paying for the copyright on that with just shows and everything.
Sure.
I'd received.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that was just, I would think that today that there are certainly other things that you could do in order to maintain your relevance during this time of being sheltered in place and everything and also keeping in contact with your clients to make sure that they know that you're still here and that you're willing to work for them and everything. In fact, I've got a show I just booked for next week, which is going to be a physical I'm going to be going and performing in their home. It's a 40-year-old birthday party. The people are going to be between 40 and 50 years old. There'll be about 40 people there. And I'm going to do close up on a stage show. And I'm thinking, what am I going to be doing different? I wonder if I can do sponge bunnies or whatever, So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that works out.
Wait. Okay, so quick timeout. You are doing an in-person show indoors next week. So we're in the month of May.
So this will be May 30th.
What?
That's your shock face? Oh, what?
It is my shock face. That is my genuine, I maybe look like what they model cartoons off of, which is just and shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they asked me to begin with, saying, would you mind performing live and doing, interactive show? Because we've invited 40 people and absolutely everybody is going to show up, again, between 40 and 50 years old. They have no problem. They're willing to interact. They're friends of ours. And would that be okay with you? And I thought, I'm in my 60s and I feel fine. I think that's going to be okay.
Great. I mean, good for you. So I'm shocked because I have a slightly different situation. So not a lot of people know this, but I'm starting to like talk more openly about it because actually Eric Tate from Penguin Magic is the one that was like, hey, can I interview for the podcast on this specific topic? So I have an autoimmune disease. So my lungs also other stuff. So I know that if I get COVID, not only does my immune system, it won't be able to fight this off, but any lasting effect my lungs have, like I'm out. I say goodbye to everyone the moment that I think I have COVID. And actually there was a weekend where I got a dry cough and a fever, and I genuinely called people and said goodbye. I was like,
Wow.
that's it. I'm done. And in fact, my doctor was like, you need to take this so much more seriously than you could have ever imagined you would have to do this. And so I haven't, with the exception of walking the dog, I haven't left the house. I've gone to the grocery store a couple of times. My partner Harrison, he goes to the grocery store a couple of times, but like outside of that, we are super careful. I can't even imagine doing a live show right now.
I've been super careful also. I mean, I've worn a mask. I've gone out to the grocery store like 3 times. I've been sheltered in place since March 14th. I can remember the day and the time specifically, since 7 p.m.
Same.
I was in Dallas, and on the 13th,
Yep.
drove back from there. Anyhow, so not traveled on anything. I've not gone to any restaurants. There are different things people are open, companies are opening in restaurants, etc. A little at a time. But I, again, have been wearing a mask. I went and got my hair cut just this last week in a warm mask. You know, the lady who was cutting my hair, you know, was wearing a mask and everything then too. But I, you know, a little at a time kind of feel like, well, I'm getting out. And so I really don't have a big problem, you know, with that. I think I'm saying this, and this may be maybe my last will and testament. And to you, I'll leave this bottle of vodka.
Please. Oh, yes. 3 olives vodka. Yes. Do you know what's funny is that, like, speaking of this situation, my my food has just arrived. I ordered delivery. So join me, won't you, as I go wipe off a bag and put on my face mask and make sure that I can eat my dumplings in peace. If you die from that party, just know that I will pass your joyous message on to everyone, and we'll have a martini in your honor.
You're the best. So from that, let me go on to say, you know, as far as enjoying these cheese and crackers, but I've got just a few napkins from the Magic Castle.
Yes.
Magical Arts that you might recognize then too. So got those the last time I was there. And so I spoke with a guy today on the podcast that's going to be coming up sometime soon.
Mm-hmm.
One of the nice things then, and you probably recognize this too, is that during this shelter in place time, we do have opportunities to speak to people who we normally perhaps can't talk to because they're busy all the time. And obviously, whenever you call them or contact them now, it's like, hey, I haven't got anything else to do, so that's fine. You know, whatever time's good with you. But one of the guys that actually kind of came out of the blue, there were 2 things. First of all, by the way, a few weeks ago, months ago, I had a person I want to recommend to you. Stefan Beach is her name, and she is a transsexual who I thought might be better situated for your podcast than mine. And she is a friend of the Magic Word. She helps support us financially. She's really great and an avid listener, and you know, would like to talk about her story. And I thought, you know, that would be interesting for mine. But I even sent an email and said, you need to talk with Carissa and Kayla. I think that would be just awesome, you know, for you to talk with her about her transition and doing magic, you know, that way. But the guy I talked with today was kind of interesting, very interesting, actually. Recently written a book. I don't like to, I'm sure it's like you, don't like to necessarily promote people who are putting out a new product, a new book, or a new, you know, trick or video or whatever. But if they've got something that I think
Yes.
the magic
Yes,
community
agreed.
should be made aware of, then they should do that. And this is a situation with this guy today. Ryan Kane had recently written a book called Out of Stock.
Yes, yes.
You familiar with the book? You know him? He's out.
Do you know what? Sorry, I'm my food delivery guy gave me the wrong order. So keep talking as we're doing this. And freeze. This is so professional. Hi, sorry, I was confused. Thank you so much.
So,
okay.
And
that
Ryan,
yes.
That Ryan Kane had written this book and said Out of Stock. And the idea is he was talking about stock lines. What is it that you have in your show that are stock lines that you should eliminate and start to be creative to come up with your own original ideas? And here are the steps you would go through in order to identify those things and things that happen during your show. And then you go back and change that in order to make that unique and creative and original for you. It was very interesting. And what was further after I talked with him, going back on Amazon, that if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, that you get the Kindle book for free. And the download, I think, is like $15 or something. If you want the ebook or something, I think he said it's like $10 for a hard copy for them to. You go through his website at I've forgotten what the Ryan. I think it's a Ryan Kane with a Kane RYA and RyanMagic.com. I think he's got a website that you can talk or order his Amazon hardcover book then as well. Anyhow, sounded kind of interesting and something I think a lot of times that we are so invested in saying the obvious lines, and we need to get rid of those out of our vocabulary.
Do you know what's really funny? So I've been talking to Ryan. So one thing that we kind of implemented very early on Shazam is that we don't like to bring anybody on with the intention of promoting a product and nothing else. So actually I'm discussing it with Ryan Kane, and Ryan actually has a really interesting point, which is part of his book actually addresses how stock lines are maybe not very accepting or inclusive. And so I want to talk to him more on it. I'm going to try to schedule a phone call with him to maybe have a conversation with him and see how it can all fit within the podcast. The thing is that we're never saying, you know what, I think your product is crap and I don't want to talk about it. Sometimes we are, but I don't know Ryan and I don't know this product. So that is a good thing. But I'm really interested to see, like, we really try to make it so that if we're not talking about a directly feminist-driven issue, and when I say feminist, I mean inclusive, and we really do try really hard to, like, not make it white feminism and not, I can only speak as a person who is white and who is female, and Carissa can only speak from her perspective, but we actually have a couple of interviews that are scheduled coming up who are with women in the magic community that aren't white, and I'm really excited to talk more with them. And of course we've had Jade and et cetera, but we want to make sure that we're being as inclusive as possible. But if the topic for the discussion isn't inherently driven by feminism and equality and inclusion, then it needs to be very specific towards helping women improve their acts or helping magicians improve their acts so they are more inclusive. So my argument was that by telling somebody to say, don't try to eliminate the, can I have your clean hand? No, the other one is not really an inclusion issue, but it seems like Ryan actually has some really interesting parts in the book that I'm really excited to explore and learn more about. So yeah, we just have very specific rules because we've had a lot of people contact us going, I have a new book of a lot of tricks out, or I have a new show that I'm doing that I want to promote that it's just my show and I'm traveling around, that we go, we're not a promotion podcast. We have a very specific goal. Carissa and I don't make any money personally from the podcast. We don't really have much personal gain. Like, I think I've booked one event based off of having the podcast, but for the most part, like, most people outside of that, and then they listen and then they go, this is great, etc. But for the most part, I don't book work from Shazam I'm not sure what about Carissa, but I don't think she books very much work from the podcast alone. So this is not self-serving, which means that we don't want it to be self-serving to others. So we're really hypersensitive to what we talk about. But I love the first. Can you tell what was the first person's name you mentioned?
Stephanie
before
Beach.
Ryan.
Oh, Stephanie Beach was the
Stephanie Beach, brilliant. So I'm going to definitely check out Stephanie because she sounds really, really cool. Or they sound really, really cool.
I'll send you some information on her to get in touch with her.
Thank you. And then Ryan, I'm discussing because he actually has some really cool stuff that I think he has to share. So I want to have a conversation. But it's
likewise.
all,
I get these all the time as well, where people are either suggesting you need to talk to so-and-so, or they just contact me directly, or their publisher will contact me, or if it's a film, perhaps the producer has contacted me or whatever, and said, hey, we'd like to, have you talk with this person. We think it'd be interesting. And if I think there's something that they can drive this forward and add to the general knowledge of magicians, I think that it's worth talking to. And if it's something, again, that there are plenty of trick books out there. I don't want to know if you've got some new trick, or that you have. There's nothing new that you can bring to the table as far as restaurant magic. There have been 3 books that have been out. I think there have been maybe a total of 6 on restaurant magic, 3 of which have been the best. And after that, there's nothing else really to say. And so after it's been said, what more can you really say about it? So that's kind of the thing about, most magic is that when people would contact me, it's like, what new are you bringing to the table? Whenever I'm booking lectures, I ask them the same thing. How does this differ from what other people have already been, your predecessors who have been teaching stuff, on this subject? And specifically, what is your subject? Is it going to be close-up mentalism, children's show magic, theory, stage, presentation, whatever kind of, stand-up or close-up or both, or amalgamation or whatever it happens to be. I don't accept everybody who contacts me to saying that they want to do a lecture. I have to vet them to make sure that's something that I think that the general group, I've got about 60 different clubs from coast to coast that I book, and they all have different variety of needs of what that they know their club will enjoy. Some are card guys, anyhow, you understand. So I try to have something that is going to be more generic, or something that I think would be different enough that they want to hear. And right now, of course, I think that we are in a situation where then all the rules, Kayla, have changed. We're seeing
absolutely.
Yeah, all these different online lectures as you're giving, and other people, plus performing. I just talked to a buddy of mine here in Houston just this evening. In fact, as we're recording this evening, he'd asked me if I want to be on in this conversation, that there are 4 other magicians performing for this company. Long story short, that there were like 1,000 people in this Zoom meeting, and he said they want us to do like a half hour. Each of us do about 5 to 10 minutes of something, basically, to help add to their meeting. And I said, I'm busy talking to Kayla tonight. I really can't do that. But,
God. Oh, God. You chose wrong. I'm going to eat a spring roll, and that's not exciting at all.
I said, keep me in mind for the next time. But this guy had said, I have been doing corporate shows in every one of the 50 states in the United States so far, plus countries outside of the U.S. And so things are just completely different now than what they were before. And you look at the way that people are doing lectures right now, that, Mayor Yetta's been doing a lecture, Justin Miller and Adam Wilbur have been doing a lecture, which has been on fire. It's been doing very well. There are other people who are changing the direction of what lectures are as we typically know that. I understand that, of course, that the main drive for doing a lecture, of course, is for back of the room sales, stuff that you want to sell after your lecture. And the problem with online lectures is you're sending people to your website, and they may or may not necessarily buy anything, but they can go back at a later time. The thing is that whenever that you are actually at a lecture, you want a piece of that physical person while you're there. It's a point of sale kind of a thing, that you want to be able to buy something while they are there. If you don't buy it now, then you might miss out then later. It's the fear of missing out, the FOMO, basically, FOMO.
Yeah.
So they are not doing as well, I think, selling stuff because you're giving a free lecture as opposed to getting something for it. Typically, when I'm booking a lecture, they're going to be getting about $250. So that, would be the amount of money that would help pay and defray their travel costs, their, for the hotel, their gasoline and everything else.
Sure.
But if you're doing this
Yep.
in Dublin, Ireland tonight, and San Francisco tomorrow, and Boston, the next day, you can do it from your home and it makes no difference. You really don't have those travel expenses. So you can do it for free with the hope that they're going to be buying stuff in the back of the room. Typically, from what I understand, that hasn't been so far quite as successful as what they had hoped. Maybe that might develop into something, later that might be more successful. But anyhow, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we're all confused. Is like, I've been teaching a lot of magic lessons, and I've been teaching magic lessons for like right before you and I started talking. I taught a lesson to someone I've been teaching for 3 years, and he's great, and he just likes doing magic as a hobby, and I love him, and he's awesome. And one of the things we were talking about is we were talking about the idea of a classic force. He's at the level where a classic force is within his capability.
Okay.
And I said, normally, this is what you would do, but here's the thing. I don't know how to do this anymore because I think at least for some amount of time after everything opens and there's vaccines and safety and whatever, is that for a while, people are going to be afraid for anything. They're not going to want to touch something that you've touched. They're not going to want to pick a card. Some will and some won't. And we just don't know what that's going to look like.
I do the show.
Yeah, please do, because I'm going to literally ask you, be like, please explain to me everything that you just experienced, because I want to know how do Texans feel? Because I know here in LA, like, we're shut down until September. So we are locked down. Phase 1 has reopened. Phase 2 is not until September. So we are locked down until then. And people here are very, very cautious in making sure that everything's okay. So I think, that. So I don't know. I think everyone's confused. For me, lecturing has never been my go-to moneymaker. I'm not somebody who does a good job of creating product or method. I don't care. It's not what I like to do. And I'm very fine with that. That's just for me personally. As a magician, I like performing, not necessarily making up method in order to sell something. I also have a lot of stuff that I have made, but I don't want to sell it because I like doing it. Maybe one day I'll sell it, but I just don't want to right now. So for me, lecturing has only ever been about sharing my experience, because I think my experience is incredibly unique comparatively to most other magicians, that I like sharing and explaining, like, this is what I've learned, this is what you can learn, and let's have a discussion. And then every lecture, I learn something new too. Somebody shares with me their experience or asks a question I haven't been asked before. And then I have to think, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about it that way. So it's fun for me too. So I've only ever had 2 things to sell, which are lecture notes and like one silly little product. And I call it a silly little product because it is. And besides that, those are my back of the room sales. So I'm not charging significantly less, I think, than other lecturers. I try to keep the market still of high quality in terms of pricing, but I also, it's not my way of making money. So I don't know how people who have relied on lecture tours and selling product are doing right now. I can't even imagine people have a significant amount of finances to spend on magic gimmicks. I mean, you created the magic word, I forget the name of it, but the program where you're giving like gift cards, right, for magic shops to people.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Did I explain that right?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Yes. And thanks for remembering.
While you talk, I'm going to eat a spring roll.
There was a local guy here, Gene Protis, who is a friend of the Magic Word and a good friend of mine. And he and his wife, Betty, said, we want to donate $500 to people who are magicians who are in need right now and need a little bit of relief. And recognizing that their money can be perhaps better spent for rent and food and clothing and basically your basic, needs. But they still need to have some magic. And so we want to see if there's something we can do to don't do that. So I said, let me think about that for a little while. And so I got back to him the next couple of days and said, let's do this. How about that we actually provide something not only for the magician, but also for the magic dealer? In other words, that if we give money to a magic dealer, particularly brick and mortar, or there are some online shops that are just not doing well, but a lot of online shops are doing really well. If you look, of course, that people are not going to Macy's physically, but their online sales are like 74% up. I mean, they're just, everything is, as far as online is going up, but not all online dealers are doing all that great. My point is that we're identifying those magic shops, brick and mortar, that has, they have expenses for their lease, for their employees, and other things that they're kind of having difficulty, to begin with. But then you couple this with the current pandemic situation where they're closed and they're still having to make these payments. That's difficult for them. Online dealers just having to pay for their website and domain and their stock and everything. But even so, they still are needing to. Some of them, well, they're all needing to make their cover their nut. So the idea is that we will pay money to a magic dealer who will be buying stuff wholesale, or perhaps even creating stuff there on their own, and then giving them that money, which will be as a gift card for a magician who is in need. Now, this is not charity. People don't like to accept charity, so this is not charity, but we all need help now and again. And if ever we need help, now is the time when I think magicians are going to need that kind of help. I think that it's important that, excuse me, that darn COVID.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, no.
We were looking at magicians who are needing some relief from the standpoint, I've got so many bills that are accumulating that I need, I wish I was, back when I was making some money, and they were kind of at a position where they're getting started in magic, where they really don't have a savings account. They don't have, 6 months of savings that they can kind of call on or whatever. And so I don't care whether that you've been a street performer, a cruise ship magician, a corporate magician, doing trade shows or whatever. There are some people who are in need that you may not know about, and I don't care. We've kept this anonymous, and so each week I will select a person anonymously through this just a random drawing on a spreadsheet that they put their name in. Go to the website at themagicwordpodcast.com, and there's a place where they fill in their name. And if you know someone who even needs some help, if you will fill in the name and that email address of somebody, then they could be helped. And so each week a different magic dealer will be selected. We'll put that money in there. Currently it's $73 a week, $73 a week that goes in there. And that dealer then will have a gift card of $73 that will be given to whoever that I send them. And so I try to keep this all separate and anonymous, but I say, okay, if so-and-so contacts you, that this money is for them, and so they can buy stuff. So the dealer, again, makes some money just because the difference between the jobber cost and the wholesale cost, and then they're selling it at retail than to the magician. The magician feels good about himself. He's got better self-esteem because you're still buying magic, you're learning magic. So when we get back out in the world, that we're able to do some new stuff that we've just learned from things that we have purchased. Whenever that, you feel bad about yourself or something bad has happened, you always like to buy something. And so by buying magic, I think this will help people. And so we're, as we talk here tonight on the 21st of May, that this is the 4th week of this project, and it's a 10-week project. So it's been successful, and I'm so happy. And the outpouring of thankfulness that we've received from people who have been helped on both sides, both the brick and mortar shops and the magicians. I wish I could share with you, but it's just, I feel good. I mean, just, if you help one person at a time, that's all this is about. It's
Yeah.
magicians helping magicians. It's called Magicians Relief Project.
And I when you were talking about it the other night in the Oakland Magic Club meeting, I was like, oh, this is brilliant because not only are you helping magicians, but you're helping magic shops. And so it's like, oh, great, because magic shops are, of course, difficult to come by now. And I miss going. I had a magic shop for the first like 2 years I was in magic when I was a kid. So it was, it wasn't a place that like I went and hung out at a magic shop. But when I moved to Boston, oh gosh, I loved hanging out at the magic shop and learning and buying books and whatever it happened to be. And it was just so cool. And I'm really thankful to have like the Magic Apple in LA, to have a place that I can walk in and go, Brett, I need your help. This is what I want to accomplish, and I have no idea. And then he'll spend 20-30 minutes with me just going over stuff. And I would never have had that. Nobody ever has that if Magic Shop doesn't exist. And as small businesses are closing left and right, and a very large dog walks behind me to curl up for a small nap before his dinner, is that was my nod to my dog actually doing that. It had nothing to do with your program. Yeah, it's just I think this is really smart, and I'm trying to also look at books and things that I don't have and products I don't have that I could really use, and can I give some magic to a magic shop that could use this right now. And I've always, growing up, we always bought from Denny and Lee's and Diamonds Magic.
Yeah.
Those were the two shops. And then now I have in the Magic Apple, and just trying to help anything survive during this would be ideal, except the coronavirus. Let's maybe kill that, and then everything else should survive. And that would be awesome.
I would agree.
So
Listen,
there you go.
I'm going to
I love that.
Stop the video over here, and I think that we've kind of talk a little bit.
Do you not want me to eat more Thai food in front of everyone?
No, I think that is fine. I mean, I've been eating cheese and crackers in front of everyone, and we've been enjoying martinis. I think that the people who've been watching this have gotten a lot out of it. At least I think they did. I've enjoyed this. So I thank you very much. And so this is my guest, Kayla Drescher, and I've been her guest, Scott.
And this is my guest,
Scott.
I love it.
Thank you very much. I love you. So for the Magic Word Podcast,
thanks, love you too,
for
Scott.
Shazam Podcast, Scotty out.
Bye.